I'd like to call the meeting of the North Rock Planning Commission to order, please. Ms. Keisha, would you please call the roll?
Banks. Blasco.
Here.
Chambers.
Present.
Dietz. Foster. Phillips. Wallace.
Present.
White. Chairman Clifton.
Here. Mr. Banks has just came in.
Move that we excuse the absent members.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to excuse those commissioners not present. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. If you would, please turn off your cell phones in the audience. You have been submitted a copy of our minutes of our previous meetings. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Move for approval.
Motion made and seconded. They be approved as submitted. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll move right into our Development Review Committee portion of the meeting. Mr. Don Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Development Review Committee met and considered item SD 2018-50, Shorter College Renewal, Block E, Lot 1, replat and site plan review for a church building located at 811 S.A. Jones Drive. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 10 in subsections. And with that, the Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that this application be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this application? Any comments from the commissioners? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Item B is SD 2018-51, Walker Edition, Lots A and B, replat and site plan review for the Eastgate Apartments. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 12 in subsections. And with that, Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that this item be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? I do have a question, Mr. Tim. Has there been any more discussion about closing off Vine Street in the middle of the complex?
Yes, the applicant has provided information for that, so we're able to move forward on that front.
So what?
So we're able to move forward on that. They've provided us what we had asked for on the closure of it.
Okay, or is it still proposed being closed
Yes.
or left open?
I'm sorry, left open, yes. And then the city will do their part for the parking.
So it's ultimately going to be left open then?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right, any comments from the commissioners? On the application, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item C is SD 2018-52, Carey and Fraser First Subdivision, Lot 1R, site plan review of a warehouse located at 8019 Counts Massey Road. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 10 in subsections. And with that, the Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Motion made and seconded. This application be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item E is SD 2018-55, Rockwater Phase 4, Lots 1 through 7, preliminary plat of a residential subdivision. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 10 in subsections. And with that, Development Review Committee recommends approval.
You passed D.
I passed, which one? D?
We're on E. We'll go ahead with it now.
Okay.
Anyone in the audience who would like to speak on that application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And going back to item D, SD 2018-54, Calvary Addition, Lot 1, site plan review of a choir room addition located at 1401 Calvary Road. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 9 in subsections. With that, Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This application be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Ms. Keisha, would you please let the roll know that, or the call know that I did sustain on voting on this?
Item G is SD 2018-58, Harris Industrial Park, Lot B1 B-R1 and B-R2, a replat of industrial lot located at 2301 Eanes Road. Did I skip another? Yes, I did. I'll go back to F. SD 2018-56, the porches at Rockwater, Lot 7R and 17R, replat of residential lots located south of West 4th Street. Two items, the applicant was present for both and agreed, and we recommend approval.
Motion made and seconded, the application be approved as submitted. Any comments from anyone in the audience? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item G, SD 2018-58, without objection. Harris Industrial Park, Lot B1R and BR2, replat of industrial lot located, or BR 549, is that what you said?
No, you skipped B, R3.
I'm just reading from the title, not from that. The applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 8 in subsections. With that, Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Motion made and seconded, this application be approved as submitted. Is anyone in the audience who would like to speak on the application? Comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item H is SD 2018-59, view on riverfront addition, lots 1 through 3, preliminary plat and site plan review of a multifamily development at 10 Smart House Way. The applicant was present at the Development Review Committee and at our meeting before the Planning Commission today, and we revised 3 items. I'd like to amend item 6, which is provide 5-foot sidewalks and ramps, to say allow 6-foot sidewalks and ramps with at the back of curb, and a 6-foot landscape strip on the property and in the right-of-way. Item 7G is deleted to provide a 6-foot front yard landscape strip between property line and paving. And item 9I is amended to say comply with the fire marshal requirements for access to the south side of the structure. And with that, the Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, this application be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? Mr. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, I think, some of us have discussed this previous to this meeting and have some concerns about the parking arrangement. It calls for a tandem situation in parking. They're only providing 1.5 cars per unit. There's 205 cars there. 40 of those parking spaces will be tandem. So the concern is there's probably not going to be enough parking here anyhow. And when you have tandem, are they going to assign those 2 parking spaces to that one unit that's under there? Therefore, 40 of the other units will only have 1 parking space. All those numbers, you can jumble them however you want to and say whatever you want to about them, but it looks like to me they're going to have some problems there with parking. All that said, as we've all discussed, this is zone C6. They could build this project with 0 parking, okay? Usually C6 is in a more urban area where there's a lot of street parking and, public parking and that kind of thing. I'm just want the record to show that, this planning commission is concerned about the parking arrangement for this development. There's nothing we can do further than voice our concern, and that's what I'd like to say, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Very well spoken, very well said. I concur with you. But as we did say, I don't know of anything that we can do as a planning commission to alleviate any of that problem. So with that said, and that on the record, Ms. Keisha, is anyone in the audience, again, have any comments on this? Any other comments from the commissioners? On the application as submitted, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Item I, SD 2018-60, Denton Road addition, Lot 1, Block 1, preliminary plat and site plan review of 3 duplexes on 1 lot. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 13 in subsections, and with that, the Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Motion made and seconded, this application be approved as submitted. Any comments from anyone in the audience? From any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
That concludes the Development Review Committee report. I'm happy to report that our next Development Review Committee will be much smaller.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. We will move into our next portion of the meeting, our public hearings. Our first case is rezone case number 2018-12 to rezone property from C3 to a planned unit development to allow for an auto repair shop located at 7521 Young Road. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Chairman Clifton, I'm Thomas Pownell with Thomas Engineering, and behind me is Mr. Ron Keltner, the owner of the property.
Okay. Have you been provided with a list of the conditions to be considered?
We have, sir?
And can you comply with those conditions?
We can.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at our Development Review Committee just before this meeting, we amended the conditions to add one additional condition, and that is that a 4-foot base, masonry base, and a 4-foot column wrapping both sides of each corner up to the eave be required on the facade, the south facade of the building. And as an option, the developer may add 2 additional windows on the front and awnings if he chooses. That would be item, condition number 9. I guess the options would be condition number 10.
Okay. And the applicant was in agreement with that additional add-on to the
Applicant
conditions
did
to be
agree, yes.
considered. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this application? Any other comments from any of the commissioners? Ms. Belasco?
Do we need to be sure Keisha has the change, or did you get it like Dawn said it, or?
Tim has it, or I can repeat it.
Okay, no.
Tim has it. Okay.
Okay. Okay, on the application, please call the roll.
Banks? Blasco?
Yes.
Chambers?
Yes.
Dietz? Foster? Phillips? Wallace?
Yes.
Chairman Clifton?
Yes, your application did pass, Mr. Kellner. Get with Mr. Rivas, and he can tell you what to do next.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Our next case is rezone case number 2018-14 to rezone property from TND to an R2 and to amend the land use plan from multifamily to single-family to allow for single-family houses located at the southeast corner of Rockwater Boulevard and Rockwater Lane. TND,
Traditional neighborhood development.
okay? Rezone from a traditional neighborhood development to an R2. Okay, the applicant, go ahead.
My name's Stacy Aiken. I'm representing the owner from Aiken Engineering, so I'll be here to
Okay.
field any question.
Have you been presented with, have you seen
List.
the recommendations from the city?
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? Staff has recommended approval on the application. Please call the roll.
Banks? Glasgow,
Yes.
Chambers,
Yes.
Beats. Foster. Phillips. Wallace.
Yes.
Chairman Clifton.
Yes, your application did pass, so Mr. Rivas, and he can tell you where to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is rezone case number 2018-15 to rezone property from an R1 to a C2 and to amend the land use plan from single family to quiet business to recognize an existing grocery store located at 124 Eureka Gardens Road. Is the applicant here?
Sir, my name is Young Chun, and I'm representing the owner.
Okay. So, Mr. Rivas, the only reason he is trying to do this, if I understand, would be for a future reference, should he incur any problems there?
Yes, the property is zoned residential, so if something were to happen to the building, get destroyed or, heavily damaged, the zoning wouldn't allow it to get the permits needed to be rebuilt. So I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I believe they're trying to protect their investment in that sense.
And obviously, this is a non-conforming use. That store's been there for longer than I can remember.
Yes, sir, it's been there like 40 years, I believe.
Okay. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this application? Yes, ma'am. Please come up and give us your name. Excuse us. Let her come.
My name is Mary Wagley. I live at 202 Eureka Garden Roads in North Little Rock. My husband and I, Bill Wagley, we own property on 3 sides of this lot. And it has been our home for 37 years. We live at 202, our granddaughter lives at 200, and then we have 2 longtime renters at 120 and 122. And we also own the driveway on the south side of the property. We're not objecting just because we don't want change, but this is our home that we're talking about. Bill and I and many of our neighbors have lived in North Little Rock all of our lives, and we're proud to live in North Little Rock, and we take pride in our property. At the present time, the building is cluttered now, and today we was told there was going to be signs put up around, on 6 signs on each side of the building. If it's rezoned to commercial, there's not much telling how the property will look. That's what we're thinking. New zoning will typically open doors for something that isn't favorable to neighborhood home values, for safety, for schools and traffic flow, and etc. If there are things available under the proposed zoning changes not conducive to the well-being of the neighborhood, then we feel the residents of the neighborhood should be protected. My husband owned and operated the grocery store on this property for 48 years. He never had any problems getting the necessary permits to operate the store. We thank you for hearing our suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wagley. I am familiar with that property very well. And it has been a non-conforming use there for many, many years. And I have to concur with Ms. Wagley, in my opinion, that if something were to happen there, he could come back and apply to the commission with a new site plan and everything showing exactly what he wanted to do. If it was rezoned at this time, it could open up the property for other things that could be done out there. I don't see where rezoning it at this time would be beneficial to the neighborhood. It's my own personal opinion. Anyone in the audience else would like to speak on the application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? Go ahead, sir.
I would like for Mr. Chun to respond to how he would be a good neighbor. Some of the concerns that Ms. Wagley had.
Mr. Wallace, you know, we never intended to change any type of zoning or anything like that, as Mr. Tim will tell you. When we initially went to the city planning and zoning, the owner wanted to know if he could possibly sublease part of the building. And then when we went to city planning, they told us none of that is going to be possible because this business is zoned residential and it's never been changed. And then also at the same time, Tim informed us that if something should happen, like a fire or it got destroyed, that we could not build again. And then, of course, the owner is really concerned about his, like Mr. Rivas said about his investment. He does not plan to make any changes or anything of that sort as far as he wants to continue running the grocery store as is. He may change some of the inside, sell some different items, but as far as destroying that and putting I don't know, some kind of big retail, I mean, there's no intentions of anything like that. He wants to just protect his investment and wanted to really just initially, like I said, wanted to find out if he could sublease part of the building.
Mr. Foster?
You know, I saw right off this was going to cause somewhat of a dilemma here. And, you know, I understand both sides of this argument. But then again, you know, the business has been there for a long time. And I know there's a lot of neighborhoods that love to have a little store, you know, down the street. You know, I grew up with one, you know, several blocks from my house and enjoyed that. Let me ask our staff, is there something that we can do to work something out between the two parties we've got here that, you know, that want to, Mr. Changa, that wants to rezone this, but have some kind of limitations to our zoning that will cure, you know, their concerns about what could happen to this property. And I understand, you know, they rezone it to business. I mean, it's wide open, but can we come in with some of the kind of zoning here, or what can we do to help? Let's work together with our neighbors here and see what we can do to make this thing work for both sides.
Yeah, the lowest level of commercial zoning that allows for a grocery store is what's being requested here. We can't put any kind of conditions on a rezoning. So to require the owner to do something to the property as as part of the rezoning, we can't do that.
Can we come in with a PUD or something like that? Is that possible to?
So a PUD, we can be very specific on what exactly is allowed there. Yes, that is not what this request is.
Has that been offered to the applicant that's a possibility?
I have not spoken with them about something that specific.
Would you be willing to postpone this perhaps another month and see if we could work something out?
Well, sir, I mean, I'm just representing the owner.
Oh, I
and he's
understand.
not here,
Yeah.
but he wanted to try to do something as quickly as possible. But, I mean, yes, sir?
Just to explain some of the terms we're using here, planned unit development is basically the owner's ability to write his own zoning ordinance, for lack of a better shorthand to explain it. So, for example, the concerns of the neighbors are that C2 also allows auto repair, for example. They like a grocery store, but they don't care for auto repair, but to a straight-up zoning would allow uses that they may object to. If the business was destroyed or sold to a different entity, that entity could tear down the grocery store and build a gas station or some other use. So what they're responding to is the what if of the wide open category of C2. If you came back with, you wouldn't have to do notice again or anything because it would still stand. If you came back and asked for a PUD, a planned unit development on the same property, and the same building and everything here would be the same, you can make it much better support than
Yes,
a
sir.
wide open
Well, it wouldn't be
case of-
exactly the same, because that way we, as a group working together, could put those restrictions on
Exactly.
here.
Well, sir, I think the owner would definitely want to respect the wishes of the neighborhood. But at the same time, Mr. Chambers, if they wanted to make it into a garage, would you all not have to approve it anyway?
No.
At this point, if it's on C2,
Okay.
All the person would have to do, because a garage would be permitted by right in C2, okay? It's a right of that zone. So if we zone it C2, everything that's in the book under that classification, from art gallery to dance school to, minor auto repair, would all be allowed. If you do a planned unit development, you'd make the same application. It's just that we wish to limit our uses to the following things. Community retail. You don't have to say we want to sell these specific items, or grocery. You could just say community retail, and various, there's other generic ways of explaining what you want to do that would not put constraints on you. And what happens is that if you wish to open a gas pump out front, for example, you would come back through here and to city council to amend your PUD to allow that use.
Yes, sir.
If it wasn't approved on the front end. So the point, what we're trying to get to as a planning commission is we're trying to get to a compromise between the neighborhood and a long-time friendly neighborhood grocery. And I agree. We have lots of communities that would adore having a grocery store in their community.
Yes, sir.
So we're trying to get to happiness here. It's just that the tools we have to get there are extremely cumbersome. And the one tool we do have is the planned unit development that allows protection for the neighborhood and protection for you to rebuild your use.
Okay, I think that would be best for,
It's a very good compromise. It doesn't take anything away from you.
sure. It's gonna take another month?
We'll, if you you have to amend your application to a planned unit development and then comply with the requirements of that. But staff can help you do that, and we would meet again next month and consider the application.
All right, sir.
I think that's a better way for you to go. Otherwise, you may see a straight up no, and that delays you for a full year from being reconsidered again.
Sure.
And I like the fact that your client is wanting to keep peace in the neighborhood,
Oh,
because those are going to
yes,
be
sir.
his clientele. you
Right,
know,
well,
those are
he's
people-
not trying to make any drastic changes or
Sure,
anything.
I agree.
He became concerned when he realized.
Oh, yeah,
it
I can
was-
understand that, yeah.
Yeah, that he could lose his business in a
Right,
storm,
right.
and then, of course, he would have to come back through and either file a PUD or to rezone the property C2, and
Yes,
then apply for building permits and then rebuild.
So, Tim will get back with me, I guess?
We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
Or,
So,
at this
but-
point, you can leave it and just drop your application and leave it as it is and keep operating as you are. Then, if something were to happen, you could make your application then.
Well, I understand that, sir, but, they cannot do what they're wanting to do under the current zoning. They wanted to possibly lease a part of the store out to another entity and have a
Well, that's-
separate address, and then that's how this all started.
Right. And the PUD
And
would
that-
let you do that.
Pardon?
The PUD will allow you to
Right.
do that. You can structure it.
And that is the concern that the neighborhood has, because if you open it up to a C2, it opens you up to allow it to do more things than is not existing there now.
I understand their concern, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Come back
Yeah,
to the
you have to come
microphone.
up to the
Come back to the microphone before we can hear you.
He said he was going to rent or lease out part of it. Would those people who lease this property, would they fall under your law? Like,
Yes.
would a laundromat come under the law?
Well, for example, if he applies for a PUD, and let's just take the laundromat as an example. Let's just say he applies for a PUD and shows that he's going to sublease or divide his building. I mean, and we approve it, okay? And he says, I want to use that half for, and gives a list of things he would like to use that piece for. That he's basically writing his zoning ordinance, his PUD, to allow special uses in certain parts of his building. And that's just him writing the way he wants to use his property. It'll be discussed in public. You would have input whether or not the neighborhood wants a laundromat, in that part of the building and things like that. So it does open the applicant up to a little more scrutiny and detail in terms of what he wants to do for a business, but this also gives the neighborhood the comfort of knowing that they agree with that, okay? So it's a give and take situation. We may approve it with a laundromat over your objection because we don't see the problem.
Our goal here is to have a collaboration between the neighbors and the,
Yeah.
and the owner over here, and, makes it, best for his business and for your peace of mind there, and the clientele is going to be coming in this neighborhood, hopefully.
It would be wonderful if the owner would have a meeting with the neighbors and discuss his plans with them, and everyone said, oh, yes, that's fine with us, and then he made his proposal. That'd be great.
And that's commonly done. We encourage that. Yeah, thank you for your participation here.
Okay, so it is your intention to ask for a postponement of this?
I guess we would ask for the CUD.
Well, you just
Well,
ask to
that's
postpone.
not, this is not the place to do that. You'll have to go and make a new application.
Right. You said it's going to take about a month. That's what we're doing, and you're going to get hold of me, Tim, and
No, sir, you'll need to get hold of them and
Yes, sir.
start your process.
okay.
But just ask,
This today is just asking for a postponement of this issue.
Well, sir, I mean, I need to speak to I can't really, I mean, that's what I'm assuming, yes, sir. That's what he would want to get the right to do that.
We need direction from you.
Yes, sir. Postponement.
Okay. All right, then we will postpone this for 30 days and get with Mr. Rivas, and he can help you with your future application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you should be able to save on notification, sir. You've notified for C2 and PUD, I believe, Tim, would be a lesser.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. He does not have to re-notify the
Okay,
neighbors.
you're saving some money on not having to re-notify, so.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is rezone case number 2018-16 to rezone from R3 to R4 to recognize an existing multifamily development at the intersection of Crutcher Street and West 20th. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm representing the owner, Collie Burrow with Fennell Purifoy Architects.
Okay, this has gone through the planning office, Mr. Rivas.
Correct.
Has there been any opposition to any of this?
No calls against this, no opposition.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? On the application, please call the roll.
Banks? Blasco?
Yes.
Chambers?
Yes.
Dietz? Foster? Phillips?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Chairman Clifton?
Yes, the application did pass. Get with Mr. Rivas and he can tell you where to go next.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is our public comment. Anyone have a public comment they would like to make this time? Next order of business is a motion.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. We be adjourned. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.